There's something going on right now in the world that most of us can feel. It's pulling us apart. It's as if we're dancing on the head of a pin. We're torn between right and wrong, good and evil. This whole idea has had me thinking about my conversation with Dr. Joseph Campbell back in 1982. I was at the Fountain Street Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we had a conversation about symbolism and mythology and how the origin myth of a civilization plays out in society. Well, the majority of the world, 54 to 57% by a Pew Research study, indicates that most people follow the Genesis myth of the two trees in the Garden of Eden. You know, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the Baha'i faith, Gnosticism, there's several. And the interesting thing is, I began looking at this seriously in my doctoral research in depth psychology. And what I realized was his words, Dr. Campbell's words kept coming back to me. We seem to be struggling with defining what is good and what is evil. And as a result, I decided to recreate the two trees in the Garden of Eden, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And as I did that, it occurred to me that there must be something that is going on in this myth as an allegory that we might be able to use to help us to discern the direction, to help us out of this angst, this horrible mess civilization seems to be in right now, with war and degradation of each other and society. And so I visualized the two trees in a Venn diagram with an overlapping central area. And that central area is the Vesica Pisces. It's a Mandorla, or middle area. It allowed me to consider the idea that maybe there's a common area here that allows for us to look at a message that remained hidden for all these years. As a direct result of that, I did my entire dissertation on this idea. And I'd like to share the 7 themes of the Mandorla pathway with you. I believe that these 7 themes can lead us out of our current struggles and our current difficulties. So stay tuned. This is the first in a series of videos that I'm going to begin to put out now and start discussing these 7 themes. And I will give to you the first 2 right now. The first one you've probably heard so many times before, and it has to do with leaning into the grief and the sadness that we all feel when we look at the ecological disaster and the domination of our species over so many others. And after all, that's a misinterpretation of the word rahad that came out of Hebrew. It wasn't about dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air. We were supposed to be in harmony with. So if we are in harmony with animals and plants and the earth itself, then maybe we need to look back a little bit into what the people who have never left the garden have learned, and that would be the indigenous. So in the meantime, we're left with having to grieve the losses of numerous species that will never walk this earth again because we have been so arrogant in executing our dominion over the land. which includes deforestation and the mess we've made of the oceans and pollution, etc. That's very sad. So I feel very strongly that Joanna Macy's work in being able to look a little bit more deeply into grieving that loss but taking action, very important. It's a twofold process. Feel the sadness but take some action. Begin to look at your household and decide how you can make a difference, moving to compostable bags instead of plastic bags, for example. Very small effort, yet many people get into the habit of using a tremendous amount of plastic. And the second one has to do with holding the tension of opposites. The idea that if you look at an idea as mutually exclusive, anyone can point out the differences, but true genius is being able to hold two apparently mutually exclusive ideas in the palm of your hands and be able to point out the similarities. And we'll be looking at that through the remaining 5 themes of the Mandorla pathway. Thank you. Have a great day.